Alvin, how many times have you seen this movie now?
I've seen this movie twice, and I've reviewed this movie twice.
This is your third time now.
This is my third time.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to What Do You Think? It's me, Amir.
I'm Alvin.
We got Alvin back, and we are doing a review for Dune Part 2. This movie just came out, and we saw it on Friday. Alvin, how many times have you seen this movie now?
I've seen this movie twice, and I've reviewed this movie twice.
This is your third time now.
This is my third time.
Yeah, so we definitely did not just shoot a video and then it didn't record and have to redo it. This is a one take. We're professionals. But yes, we are reviewing Dune Part 2, directed by Denis Villeneuve. And Alvin, give them a little synopsis on the movie. Let them know what the movie's about, since you read the book.
All right. Well, if you've seen Dune Part 1, it takes place immediately after that. So just watch the first movie, and then you'll be caught up. So it's about Paul Atreides, taking the place of being the Duke of Arrakis. And then he kind of has adventures with Chani, his mom, Zilgar. It's about him, becoming a man or something. It's very high concept sci-fi. Just watch Dune Part 1, and then you'll be caught up.
So yes, Alvin is right. This is a following the family feud that is going on between House Atreides and House Harkonnen, and it is an incredible journey where you get to see kind of this rise of a hero, this rise of a kind of messiah. There is a prophecy that the Freemen live by, that there is someone who is called Lisan al-Gaib, the voice from the other world, I believe, right, Alvin?
Yes.
Yes, so the Freemen, who are Stilgar, which is played by Javier Bardem, Chani, played by Zendaya, their people believe in this prophecy, and we are kind of going on this journey as Paul Atreides figures out, can he live up to this prophecy? Is he the chosen one? Can he become the Messiah for this world? This Dune world, if you will. Which that is a reference to the initial short stories that this book is based off of, believe it or not. And I have to say, we really, really like this movie. The acting is incredible, the direction is spot on, and I think just everything of this movie, it's just really well done.
That was good. That was good, bro. Oh my. Yo, cut. This is the video. That's it. All right, put this out. That's the video. All right, see you guys.
Yeah, so like we said, the movie is really well done, or really well done. But this is an incredible experience. Like me and Alvin said in our first take of this video, this is a cinematic masterpiece. This is a movie that I think this is a masterful trilogy in the making that we are seeing live. And I think this is something that you have to kind of really experience to be a part of the discussion. This is not just your typical blockbuster, your Star Wars, your Marvel movies, your Avenger movies. This feels grander. And I think just seeing it in a packed theater with at a 7 o'clock showing in Point of Hills, it was Dolby Theater. Every seat was filled, and you can just hear a pin drop whenever action sequences were happening, conversations were happening. People were so dialed in on this movie, and I think it is just an incredible kind of litmus test that I hope more movies. What are you doing, Alvin? What's going on?
See, that's the joke, because we've done this before. So now I'm not as engaged or not as in it. So keep going. I'm sorry.
They don't know that, bro. They don't know that, Alvin. I was on a roll there. But yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny if I started saying stuff that you said in the previous video to make myself look dumber than I usually am?
Oh, Alvin's got jokes. Alvin has jokes. Go ahead. So I already said my thoughts. Let's hear Alvin's piece. Let's go ahead and see what you can recite from the last video.
This movie is as close as it gets to a masterpiece. I loved it. All right. Having watched it a second time, I love it even more. If this movie was an actual physical entity, I would give it so many kisses. I would marry this movie. I'd be like, oh, this movie is so good.
You got the
Also
popcorn
the
bucket, I
direct,
believe, right?
all of us did. Don't lie. All right, all of us
Alvin.
got no popcorn, extra butter.
Damn. Alvin's saucy, dude. But
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
so go ahead. So you're talking about the movie, you're praising the movie. Let's hear it.
I will say there's a difference between praising this movie and glazing this movie because this movie deserves all the praise that it is getting. Believe the hype. That's what Amir said the first take.
Yes,
Believe the hype. All right?
I agree.
This is a movie that you should be seeing in theaters. This is an event. All right? And this is going to be this generation's Lord of the Rings, in my opinion.
Definitely. That's a really great opinion to have, Alvin. And, this is an incredible cast that we were talking about. We have Javier Bardem, Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, Austin Butler, Lea Seydoux, Florence Pugh. We have Stellan Skarsgård. The cast is immaculate. Rebecca Ferguson. And, this is a movie where, even though it's an ensemble, I think everyone really has their moment to shine. And, in particular, one thing I thought was really interesting is how it flips the dynamics of these characters based off of Dune Part One. Me personally, I really, really trusted and like Lady Jessica in the first movie. She is this incredible mother figure to Paul Atreides, doing whatever it takes to save her son. And in this movie, she becomes different. They have this holy bath warm water that they're drinking, and it changes her, and it just really shows kind of this slippery slope that these characters kind of go on when you're like in the heat of the moment, what war does to people, what religion and what kind of hope, because that is a big part of this movie, is hope and what it can do, how powerful that tool is. And it is saying a lot of things. And Alvin, I gotta ask you, there's the elephant in the room. This is a 3-hour movie. How do you think it's going to work for people that don't like long movies or haven't read the book? Let them know.
I will say this. I rewatched Dune Part 1 recently to refresh my memory of Dune Part 2. That is a 2 hour and 40-ish something minute movie. And it
45.
feels, yes, it feels 2 hours and 45 minutes. I would say there's a lull when the family gets to Arrakis because it's just setting up a lot of the world building and a lot of the exposition for why they're there. But I will
Definitely.
say Dune Part 2 does not waste a single second of screen time. It uses every single second effectively, and it is completely necessary. I cannot see anything added. I cannot see anything cut to this movie. This movie is there's not going to be a Villeneuve cut, all right?
People
Sorry
actually want to
guys.
see that. Well, there technically can be because they cut out a character, which we discussed in our first version.
Yes. And
So probably there will be a Villeneuve cut.
he's actually a director. I'm not throwing any shade to anyone in this channel or any director particularly, but they don't market themselves as having director's cuts as better versions. Denis has said on record himself that whatever is deleted is dead. You will never see the light of day of that
Oh
scene.
wow.
His vision is 100% on the screen of what us as the audience watch, and I respect that. So this movie does not feel 3 hours, and weirdly enough, I think I would watch it again despite this long runtime.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that one it was really funny when we were talking about this movie because we went to go get food with a couple of friends before this, and I remember just as like a funny anecdote. When I finished the movie, I told Alvin, "Man, I really like this movie," but and I remember Alvin really got pissed, like, "Of course, Amir likes the movie, but you always have something to say." And I have to say, I think Alvin really hit the nail on the head. There are not many issues that I have with this movie. One thing that did kind of throw me for a loop a little bit, since I did not read the books, I did not know or what to expect from the story. It almost does feel like it ends on a cliffhanger. I don't know if you felt the same way, Alvin, but it does kind of wrap up the character arcs for a lot of these characters, but it almost feels like it doesn't wrap up the conflict, which I think that is a testament to how great this movie is. The fact that I want to see it wrapped up already. I want to see the next chapter from Denis Villeneuve for Dune Messiah. But that was one thing I felt where with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I did not feel that whiplash of an ending. I thought it felt like it ended where it needed to. I'm excited where to go, but people had the thought that it felt very much like a part one movie. I don't think it's going to be the same case here, but I know for me personally, I almost felt like, oh man, I expected it to resolve a little more than it does. But there is incredible payoff in this movie. Really, really great moments of action, acting, and just arcs in general. You know, Paul Atreides, for a main character, he really challenges kind of the typical hero's journey that like you would expect from like a Luke Skywalker or like an Iron Man, you know, characters that we see in these major blockbusters. Paul Atreides feels like he stands alone in how the story that they're telling, and it's really incredible to see how much it has influenced other games, media, anime, and it's just an incredible experience that I believe the author was name is Frank Herbert, right? Yeah, it's
Correct.
incredible to see how his book has stood the test of time 60 years after publication. That is insane. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think this movie, as weird as it is to say, it's very important, especially in 2024.
Oh, yes.
I think that the stuff that it says and the stuff that Denis adapts and just what is presented, the imagery, the iconography, and also just the commentary is trying to tell us as an audience. It's very profound and very not shocking, but I think the
Challenging.
take, yeah, it's very challenging in modern society, I suppose, just based on where it leaves off. And I will say that I don't know if this is a spoiler, but it feels um kind of like we're in 1980s again and seeing the Empire Strikes Back play on screen,
Yes.
right? This feels like a moment in pop culture or like cinema where we get to experience that feeling again, even though people already know what's going to happen. So it's like for a modern audience seeing it
It's a
translated,
modern
and it's just
modern day epic. I would say it's like a
yes.
modern epic.
Yes, I think the that word kind of encapsulates this movie and this franchise as a whole. The one word I would use to describe this Dune franchise is epic, just in scale, in scope, in acting, in cinematography, in score. I think that one word can kind of describe how I feel about these movies, and just kind of transitioning into other parts of things that worked for me personally. Unlike Amir, I had things that worked, like everything kind of worked for me. I don't have things that didn't work for me. I will say that I have seen this movie twice now. Um, the first time I watched it, I believe I was a little bit more critical. Not in like
Not that you're
I
not
didn't like.
critical now, but you had a
Yeah.
different lens.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So I suppose when I first walked out of the theater, it was kind of me. I feel like I couldn't review this movie properly because I was comparing what just saw to what was in my head, having read the books and seeing it kind of translated on screen versus what I had for a few years. But if you were to ask me last Sunday if I had any problems with this movie, I think I would say my problems are just the things that weren't included. But I realize now, having watched it a second time and having taken it all in for what it is, right? Not what it could have been, what it should be, just for
Hmm.
what it is. I have zero problems with this movie. There is nothing that needed to be added or taken away. This movie is it is up there in the echelon of top tier sequels, and you don't get that too much these days. I think the one that is most recent to mind is Across the
Across.
Spider-Verse, right? But it's we're just in like a golden age of storytelling, in my opinion.
I agree. And it's just really incredible to see. I think the box office numbers that were being reported for the end of the weekend worldwide was about 178 million. And I'm just really happy to see that it seems like people are giving this movie a chance. I know it's like a huge movie because of all the names, but I hope this shows just other studios that there are other IPs, other books that can be adapted that can really create a massive kind of ripple effect on kind of pop culture, and the importance of letting the director be the auteur, like let them have full creative control. Where I know Denis Villeneuve was saying like this last week for Dune Messiah, oh, I really want to make this movie, and I believe I don't know if it's been officially greenlit, but he's like, I already have a script pretty much completely done. But he's like, Hollywood needs to learn not to fast track things just because of the success of the previous one. And I know he wants to do a movie before he goes back into the Dune world. And I'm just very excited to see what more he can do. And this makes me want to watch his other stuff. I've never seen Arrival. I've never seen Blade Runner 2049. So this, I think, is going to be an incredible experience for a lot of people who have not seen movies from this director. And you're going to be watching even more incredible art from this guy and other incredible work from the actors that he's collaborated with. So I think I'm just really excited to see us take a step back from kind of just superhero movies or, you know, just the Disney blockbusters that always get all the attention. And, you know, like Oppenheimer did incredibly well. And I think this domestically was only like $1 million off of meeting the same opening weekend as Oppenheimer domestically, like 81 versus the 82, which is incredible. Like this, I don't know if it's gonna make a billion, but I think this is gonna clean up pretty well in theaters, and I'm just happy to see it. And I am very, very impatiently waiting for Dune Messiah, where I want to look up spoilers. I want to know how this story concludes, which is a testament to I think how great the story is here and the characters. And yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. Earlier today we were just texting about the movie and like you sent some article. You asked me a very specific question about, oh, Alvin, after having seen part two, who is the character that blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I was talking to you about it. And what's funny to me is that like these movies or these books, this whole series is like 50 to 60 years old.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really funny when Omi was like, yo, guys, yo, spoiler alert. When I didn't want to be like, dude, it's already out there. Like, I totally understand that it's a
Yeah,
new story to us.
he means spoilers in the aspect of whatever Dune Messiah is going to be telling. But I understand you
Yeah.
too. You're like, bro, the book is 6 years old. Look it up on Wikipedia. It's gonna get spoiled. Like, I
Yeah. Like,
yeah
I think I don't consider it a spoiler just because of how it stood the test of time, where it's
yeah
kind of just like, it's like history at this point where it's already happened, right? Like,
yeah.
but that's besides the point. I'm just kind of like
Also,
not ribbon. Yeah.
I think one thing is important too is even though Alvin knows certain things that are going to happen, I know certain things that are going to happen in Dune Messiah. But that does not ruin, I think, what we're going to be experiencing. This is not like a Marvel thing where it is a cheap spoiler, a cheap reveal. Where I honestly, I was really close to looking up parts of the story, like following up this on Friday night, and I did read a little bit of like trying to understand a little bit more of the main character, Paul Atreides, and kind of his place in this universe. And even though now I know a little bit more than I did walking out of the theater, I am still just as excited for the next one because I think it just shows you, like Alvin saying, how well this story has stood the test of time, and it's not just a cheap thrill, cheap reveals like cameos. This feels like Alvin saying like the modern myth. You know, like this is history. Like yeah. Anything else you want to say, Alvin, before we go into our final scores, round three? Because you gave
Dude.
in your first video you gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I gotta ask you, does this get bumped up to a 5 now?
Uh, I mean, just going back to your first question, if there's anything else I want to say, there's so much I want to say, but we did that in the first video. I left all the thoughts
Yeah.
in that first video. That I will say this.
That was
That
our
first
modern
video that we
masterpiece. That was our
exactly. I was
modern.
about to say that first video is like the Dune 2 of our channel, where there's we use all the screen time so effectively. Like I have so much that I want to just transfer over into this discussion, but I don't remember what I said because I left it all out there in the
Yeah.
in the previous take. Um, but I guess kind of just going towards the score and final thoughts, I left it in this video, I guess. It's great. It so if you're watching this video, you have already seen the movie. So you're kind of just watching reviews now to kind of corroborate your own thoughts. No one is on the fence of watching this movie, in my opinion, right? The buzz around it is already just kind of bringing people to the movie. You're watching these reviews now to see if what you thought aligns with what we think. I
Yes.
feel like that's pretty much it.
Yes. I agree.
But I think I have nothing else to say in the non-spoiler section. I have a lot of thoughts in the spoiler section. I don't know if we're going to be doing that today, but there's this movie has just so much surrounding it, so much lore. It's so deep. I think the subject matter that it presents to us can be talked about for hours and hours and hours, and I would love to talk about it. I think it's I don't know. It's crazy
There's
that
so
we're living
much.
in this time.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's so much to
exactly.
talk about, and maybe we will do a spoiler discussion because there you think the movie is going to go in a certain way, you think certain characters are going to be following certain paths, and it really takes you on a wild ride where it honestly is an incredible experience. Like I know people keep saying like, oh, watching a movie in the theater is an experience. This actually feels like an experience where I know Alvin was saying to me before we started that he was looking into tickets to watch this in 70 millimeters. I have a coworker who watched it in 70 millimeters at the City Walk, and he said it was incredible. So this is a movie that I know I want to rewatch again in theaters, get that experience again because it is incredible. And everything you've heard people praise about, like Alvin was saying, there's a difference from praising and glazing. This movie, I think, deserves all the praise. And I'm gonna go ahead and give my number because for me personally, it is hard to give something a 10 out of 10. But I think this movie is as close to a like masterpiece as you can get, aside from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, in my opinion. Uh, this movie, I have to give it a 9.5. I think it is an incredible movie. I think even if sci-fi may not be your favorite genre, I think it is still, for the most part, pretty easy to follow. It feels like it explains the rules of this world well enough where I don't think you're gonna get like dissuaded or kind of scared off because it's sci-fi or because it's such a high concept. I think Denis Villeneuve does a great job of kind of explaining the rules of the world and how everything works. Because at the end of the day, the core of this, like we said in our first version, it's a love story between Paul and Chani. And I know we didn't get to talk too much about Chani this time, but she is such a standout. Zendaya is incredible in this movie, and I know Omid said Chani was his favorite character in the movie, and it's just, I think, definitely worth the watch. If you have A list, try to watch it in theaters. If you don't have A list, I still recommend trying to watch it in theaters because since it is such a long movie, it might be tough, watching it in one sitting. Because for Dune Part One, I had to break that up into multiple sessions before I watched Dune Part Two. I watched that over, I think, 2 or 3 days. And like, this movie is dense. This movie, I don't know if it's gonna be the same effect, but that's why I'm saying if you can experience this with a crowd, bring your best friends along, watch it. You guys are all gonna enjoy it. So I say nine and a
Yeah.
half. Alvin.
My score. So last week when I first saw it, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Right now, after watching it a second time, I would say it's a 9.5 out of 9.75
7.5.
out of 10. It's as close to perfect. I agree with Amir. This is not a perfect movie. I don't think perfect movies exist, but this is as close to perfect slash masterpiece. And we've been getting really, really close to perfect movies these past few years. We got an Oppenheimer, this movie, Across the Spider-Verse, Banshees of Inisherin. The list goes on and on.
Oh yeah,
For me,
the
my
whale.
final score is 4.875 out of 5. This movie is incredible. It is epic. Uh, you've already watched it. Thank you for joining us, right? This is
Exactly.
our review of Dune Part 2. It's been me, Alvin.
It's me, Amber, guys. Have a great
See ya.
one. See you next time.